Howdy folks, welcome back to World of Tanks with the mighty Jingles. Yeah, I said hi guys at the beginning of the last video, didn't I? I forgot what I was doing, thought I was Quickie Baby for a minute. So, yeah, World of Tanks. It's more random acts of violence, unlike the good, the bad and the ugly, which is other people, mostly, driving tanks. Random acts of violence is me doing dumb shit in virtual tanks. Here, we're in the Jagdpanther, German Tier 7 tank destroyer. And this is a very, very popular machine for a lot of people because it means you don't have to drive the flat Panzer anymore. And the Jagdpanther gets a fantastically good 105mm gun. Of course, it's not anywhere near as stealthy as the old Jagdpanzer 4, and it's a bigger machine, but that gun, oh, that is such a good gun. Actually, to be fair, it gets two very good guns. The first gun you'll unlock on it, well, not the first gun you're going to unlock on it that you're actually going to enjoy using is the Long 88, the L71, same gun that you get on the Tiger, the Tier 7 heavy tank. And that's a good gun. It's got 203mm of penetration, it's very accurate, .32 accuracy, 240 average damage, nice rapid rate of fire as well. But this 105mm, while you do lose a little bit of penetration, you lose 3mm. You can put up with that. 200mm of penetration, 320 average damage, and .34 accuracy. So, not as accurate, not quite as much penetration as the Long 88, and it is more expensive to fire. But you know, particularly when you're in a map like Prokhorovka, where you only really spot a target for a couple of seconds. Well, what happened to that Jagdpanther isn't particularly representative of the sort of thing I'm on about. He got caught in the middle of the road in no cover, spotted, died. But a lot of the engagements that you get into on Prokhorovka, particularly on this side of the map, you're shooting at targets that have just revealed themselves by firing their gun through cover. And they're only visible for a couple of seconds. And in that kind of situation, you need to be doing as much damage as possible up front. And the 105mm gun has almost 100 more damage than the 88. And so I do definitely feel that the 105mm, particularly in situations like this, is the gun to be using. Plus, while it's not like one of the Russian 122mm guns with ridiculous 390... another kill. 390 average damage. 320 still hurts. And there's a fear factor associated with getting hit by 105mm and higher guns that you just don't get with guns like the 88s. And there's kill number 3. This gun hasn't put a foot wrong yet. And when you've upgraded to this from a machine like the Flat Panzer, the Jagdpanzer 4, which has a choice of a pretty good 75mm gun, but it's getting a bit tired now. Well, you were using that gun on the Stug, or a very, very underwhelming 88mm gun. It's just such a breath of fresh air to actually have a choice of two really good guns. When you upgrade to the Jagdpanther here at Tier 7, I've always had a soft spot for this machine. I think that is the first shot I've fired this game where the shell hasn't gone exactly where I aimed it. Quick note, however, about the tactical situation here and why I am sitting where I am and able to shoot at these guys without anybody firing back at me, despite the fact that I am well within 15 meters of the cover that I'm shooting through. And you can tell that I'm within 15 meters of this bush because I can see through the bush. That's the simplest way of telling. And the reason I'm able to get away with this is because there's a Hellcat in front of me. There he is, and he is spotting these guys. Now, the situation is about to change. The Hellcat's being threatened by a tank moving up on his position on the ridge. And now, these guys can see me when I fire through the bush. And it's only now that I'm starting to take return fire. You'll note we've lost sight of all of those targets because the Hellcat was the one doing the spotting. So now I know that I'm in their view range. That doesn't, of course, mean that they automatically can see me, because I'm still behind concealment and I'm not shooting through it. But I am close enough to this bush now that if I fire, they will see me, because I'll lose the camo rating of the bush. This Panther M10 is moving up. If I was to shoot at him now, I would start taking return fire. So I pull back, can no longer see through the bush, and if the Panther M10 had come over the ridge at that point, I would have been able to hit him without giving my position away. However, the Panther M10 doesn't have a line of sight on me. And the Hellcat spotted the Stug at the back. The Stug was too far away to spot me when I fired. The Panther M10 didn't have a line of sight on me, so he couldn't spot me when I fired through the bush, even though he would have been close enough if he'd had a clear line of sight and not been on the other side of the hill to light me up. And the reason that I'm going on about this in such great detail is because there are still a lot of you out there who just don't really understand how the spotting and cover mechanics work. And so this replay is just showing you how to take advantage of it and use camo and cover intelligently in admittedly ideal circumstances. In order to get yourself a sneaky Top Gun, 3,500 damage done, and enjoy one of those exceptionally rare games where I'm in the same platoon as Quickie Baby and I actually managed to come out on top. Ah, the mighty, mighty Ferdinand. This is my third most played machine. I've played 271 games in my 30. The only machines I've played more games in than this are the Marder 2 and the Lerva, and my stats in the Lerva really, really suck. Because I was one of those noobs who didn't have anything higher than tier 4, went out and flashed some cash, bought himself a tier 8 heavy tank, and then sucked massive amounts in it. And my stats to this day are still recovering from that early idiot period in the Lerva. That's in the number 2 spot, and the number 1 spot is the Marder 2. I played well over 300 games in that thing, with something like a 65-67% average win rate. Of course, that was the old Marder 2, back when it wasn't completely shit. Which means that the Ferdinand is the machine I have played the most on that I actually have a pretty decent record with, and that I still play on a regular basis today. So we're here on Tundra, and initially I was going to climb up the top of the hill. So we're here on Tundra. Initially I was going to, up there where the Panther 2 and the T-43 have gone is a great spot for a tank destroyer. But it's going to be crowded up there, and I can guarantee that they wouldn't move aside to allow me to take shots. So instead, I come down to the low ground, and I immediately get spotted. Pull back. If he spotted me, I don't want anybody other than him shooting at me, but it's a 4502B. It's a fast machine. Its best gun is 105mm. Nothing like the 128mm gun on this monster. The gun on the Ferdinand, 490 average damage. And the armour on a 4502B, not very good. So he's not interested in getting shot at by me, because when this gun hits something, it stays hit. As that Churchill 7, who has a very, very strong frontal turret, is about to find out. The 128mm gun on the 30 really does not take any prisoners. Just look at that. 2 shots from this gun left that guy on 13 health. And if somebody else, thank you, because I really don't want to have to waste another 128mm shell on a tank that only has 19 health. So, thanks for finishing him off for me. Now, the thing that makes the 30 different to all the previous German tank destroyers is the frontal armour. It's mostly 200mm thick all across the front of this tank, but it's 80mm thick in the lower glacis and the cheeks at the front of the hull. And when I first got the Ferdinand, back when this was my highest tier tank destroyer, I was I had a lot of success using this thing as an assault gun rather than as a tank destroyer, and pushing forward and leading the attack, because a lot of people just didn't have a clue where to shoot the Ferdinand. And of course there wasn't as much premium ammunition around either, because back then, okay, that was a bad shot, and there was just my shitty aiming, nothing wrong with the gun. But back when I first got the Ferdinand, you couldn't get premium ammunition for credits. You had to spend real money and buy gold to get your premium ammo. That's why they call it gold ammo even to this day. Now, this guy, is he using premium ammunition, or does he just know where to shoot, or is he just getting lucky with his penetration? Judging by the fact that he's rolling out in front of a 128mm gun sideways on, showing his weakest armour, it's probably safe to say he also doesn't really know where to shoot. But at the same time, the 110's 100mm gun did take me by surprise in that engagement, because it reloaded faster than I was expecting it to, and it does have the penetration to get through 200mm of armour most of the time anyway, so yeah, whatever. He's dead, I'm not. Took more damage than I expected to take, but was able to use his wreck in order to put a fearsome amount of damage into that AMX-46. Artillery takes a shot, misses. Always a good day when that happens. I like you, Artie. I'll kill you last. And we're going to move up and get some more damage done with any luck, but now I've got to be careful. Right, I took far more damage than I really should have in that fight with the 110, because I misjudged his rate of fire. I forgot he had a 100mm gun. He didn't have the really slow reload that you get with the 122mm guns. I thought I could reload faster than him. I was wrong. I took a lot more damage than I should have. But, you know, no sense moaning about it, because he's dead and I'm not. But, gonna have to be careful. So what they got left? Okay, there's an STA up there. There's a Tiger P up there. Nobody's seen that. Ooh. Okay. Yeah. T-28 prototype. Just obliterated that fella over there on my right. This is the stage of the game where a T-28 prototype really starts to get dangerous. They're not the most mobile machines in the game, but when they're losing, the mobility isn't really that much of an issue, because you have to come to them. And as defensive machines go, T-28 prototypes are among the best in the game, certainly when they're top tier. Now you'll note, looking at the map, that while that Tiger P and Tiger 2 up on the hill are preoccupied shooting down at us approaching the cap circle, Zircon and Foch are sneaking around behind them. And there he is. Right. What sort of shot is he? It looks like he's pointing his gun right at me. And the gun on the T-28 prototype is definitely capable of putting me out of my misery in one shot. So, come on, where is he? He's the last one alive. Can we do more damage? Is he going to give me something other than the... He is! I'll take that shot. And let's not push my luck, because that's probably pissed him off. And a win's a win. And what a win! Again, this is one of those ridiculously rare games where I'm platooned up with somebody like Foch and Circumflexes, and by some miracle I end up on top. I'm on fire! Somebody stop me! Okay, that was terrible. I promise to never try to do a mask impression again. Time for one more game. Oh, what's this? Is this my favourite tank in the game? I think it is. You'll notice I keep driving through the crates and rubbish in the middle of the cap circle, and that's just force of habit, but it's not a bad habit. A couple of patches back, those plywood crates would stop dead a 183mm shot from the Death Star, and it's only very recently that the game's been changed to allow you to shoot through soft obstacles like that at the cost of some reduced penetration. So if somebody is sitting in your cap circle hiding behind those crates, you're not going to have to waste a shot blowing the crates away anymore. You can still shoot through them if you need to. However, if that tank that you're shooting at is an E75, for example, and he's angled, you're going to have enough problems getting through his armour and penetrating him and doing damage and resetting the cap without having to worry about losing penetration, firing through obstacles that you could have just driven over in the cap circle at the start of the game, and you wouldn't have that problem in the first place. Anyway, Hemelsdorf, Tier 9 match, Centurion Mark 7. Quickie Baby, also in a Tier 9 medium, the Chinese WZ-120. Ike, well, we're not going to see much of Ike in this game. He's in his M103. In this game, we are 3/4 of the team's Tier 9 tanks. They have that WZ-120, who I'm in absolutely no danger from over here because his gun depression is shit. And that's why I came around this side and Quickie Baby's on the flat road over there, because he is also in a WZ-120 and his gun depression is also shit. Now, I like tanks that have good gun depression. I like tanks that have bouncy turrets. I love tanks that have good gun depression and bouncy turrets. And that's what the Centurion Mark 7 is. And if you insist on giving it a gun that does 390 average damage with 268mm of penetration, well, I'm not going to complain. That Tiger might complain, but I'm not going to complain. Now, knowing World of Tanks players the way I know World of Tanks players, I am in no danger of being shot at by that WZ-120 as long as that IS is alive. So now, Quickie Baby's come around, killed the Tiger. It's 2-on-1. He is so incredibly stuffed. And with me on this side, his gun depression, he's not even going to try to shoot me. He's going to keep going for Quickie Baby, which means I got out of that without taking any damage other than what I took from ramming him. Now, their E75 just turned up late to the party. He just popped off our radar. He was right there. We've got a T-25-2 moving up, so we're going to take advantage of this spot over here to get some more damage done, keeping an eye on the map for what the T-25-2 spots. Now, Quickie Baby's trying again. This is the limitation of your Chinese mediums. He just cannot get the gun down far enough to shoot at these guys, so he moves aside and he lets me take the shots, while he angles to try to get further up the hill for a better shot at these guys. Centurion 7-1 with the gun depression on this thing, no problem whatsoever, hitting targets down in the road from up here. But we've had enough fun messing around with the enemy's tier 7s and 8s. We are our team's top tier tanks, and those are the enemy's top tier tanks, and they're heavies. And it was pretty much always going to come down to a confrontation between us and them. Now, I did mention the very, very bouncy turret of the Centurion Mark 7. That is one of the reasons why I absolutely love this tank. Oh, he's fired. Now, we interrupt this program to bring you a swift ballistics lesson on what to do and what not to do when shooting at the front of a tank like the E75. You can see here in Tank Inspector that the actual thickness of the upper glacis of the front of an E75 is 160mm thick. The lower glacis, 130mm thick. However, it is very, very well angled. What that means is if you're on level ground shooting at the front of an E75, the upper glacis, thanks to that angling, becomes the equivalent of around 270 to 280mm thick. And my gun only has 268mm of penetration. Shooting at the upper glacis, bad idea, on level ground. The lower glacis, on the other hand, 242. I can penetrate that. However, the E75 is not on level ground. He is angled, and I'm shooting down at him. What that's doing is increasing the effective angle of his lower glacis and turning that into an automatic ricochet. The upper glacis, on the other hand, is now being presented at a less steep angle, which means that it is now only effectively 230mm thick. So if you're ever firing down at the front of an E75 from a position of higher elevation, do the opposite of what you would do on level ground and shoot at his upper glacis. Yes, I know, I'm a scrub. Quickie Baby charges, does a drive-by, plants one right into the E75, keeps going. He's going around after the 4502B. He doesn't have the gun depression to be going up against an E75 on lower ground. I, on the other hand, do. I try to hit this guy's commander's hatch. It misses. Instead, it bounces off his turret roof. But I know, knowing World of Tanks players the way I know World of Tanks players, I'm in no danger from that E75, as long as there's a T25-2 next to me that he can shoot at instead. Which leaves me with a nice shot right into the back of the 4502B, and then he's dead too, but hey, at least they went down fighting. Now, while I would love to continue to attempt to foster the illusion that I'm a better player than Ike or Quickie Baby, I wouldn't be fooling anybody, so it's only fair to show you that, yeah, they did more damage than me, as they usually do in most games I play with them. But we all did over 3,000, we all got 2 kills, so it was a good team result. And it was a good result for the team as a whole as well. Although, you know, shout-outs to the enemy team, well, you know, nobody in particular did very well. Although none of them did particularly badly. Almost all of them did some damage, which is more than you can say for our team. And it really was just a case of myself and Quickie Baby up top, with some cannon fodder to take the hits for us. You know, credit where credit's due. And Ike in his M103, and this guy here, who, judging by his name, appears to be a famous YouTuber trying to go incognito. I've tried that myself in War Thunder. It doesn't work. But Ike and this guy in the AMX 5100 down in the road below us, holding off the assault of their heavies and their T28 prototype, who basically carried the game. So, good result. And 3 very enjoyable matches in the Jagdpanther, the Ferdinand, and the Centurion Mark 7. Take care, folks, and I'll catch you next time.